Hello and welcome back to the garage. We're going to continue on today with this desk project. Now if you saw the last video to this, you might be thinking to yourself, why did you cut a huge hole in that lovely piece of worktop just for a bit of glass so you can look down at your own feet? Well, the reason for the glass is that we are going to actually mount a computer underneath the desktop and something what you might call a desk PC, and the glass is so that you can see everything. It all looks nice and it lights up, and if you're a computer guy like me, you can see all your components lit up and it looks good. It's basically just a nerdy, techie kind of desk. So below the big hole and the piece of glass, we need to build a box for the PC. So what I did last time, I didn't film it because, to be honest, I really couldn't be bothered. It takes quite a lot of time to film stuff when you're busy, and takes your attention off of the job. But anyway, basically it's just 20 quid's worth of wood from the hardware store. We've gone for some 12mm plywood, which is nice and strong, and just some sort of some planed battens here. At the moment, this box is just being held together with these battens. This is kind of a test fit. I'd measured it and cut it all last time and test fit it. So today it's going to be working out whereabouts in this box the components are going to sit, and we're going to need to cut some holes into this box for things like fans and power cables and that sort of thing. To make life a bit easier for myself, I'm going to use, I'm going to take some bits out of an old computer case. So things like on the back here, we've got our I/O shield would pop in here, and this is where all your connections from the motherboard would come out here, and your PCI sort of lanes down here. This would be a faff to try and cut this sort of thing. Really, it just wouldn't look good if I tried to cut that into the back of the box there. So what I'm actually going to do is remove this bit from the case, and if you look, you can see that this piece here is actually sort of riveted in to the case itself. Where is it? Up here. So I'm going to drill out those rivets and salvage that bit, and then we're going to use that as a template, and we're going to actually fix that to the back of our box here, and it's going to make installing the computer in this thing quite a lot easier. So first things first is let's get a drill out and get a nice metal high-speed drill bit on there and get those rivets out. Okay, so I'm just going to pop out all of these rivets. So I'm going to go around and do that for the rest of them, and then I can knock those off and hopefully release this. Okay, so now we've got them all drilled out, I'm just going to use an old chisel here to knock them off, like so. I'll go around and do the rest of those, and then this should just push off. Okay, and with all of those popped off, I just need to push these plastic bits through, and we should now be able to pull this out here. There we go. And that's what we were after. This is going to make it so much easier for us to mount our motherboard on the case here. We can use that as a template, we can drill the holes, the I/O shield will be held properly, all of the PCI cards will be held properly, so that is worth its weight in gold. Now, if you've been following the series, you'll know that for the piece of glass on the desktop, I paid £10 for a coffee table from which I salvaged that glass. This wood is about 20 quid's worth of wood I've used here, and I've just gone and picked up this case from Amazon Marketplace for £5. It's actually a nice case. It's sort of a shame to tear it to bits, but it's ideal for this, and that actually came out really nicely. It's a nice quality case. It's good solid metal, even got some handy mounting places there for our screws, so it's going to be fantastic. So now we need a way to actually mount our motherboard to the bottom here, and one of the other things we could salvage from the old case is the standoff tray here. Now what you've got is these standoffs, and they screw into the tray at the bottom until they're flush, and then your motherboard sits on top of the standoffs, and you screw through the motherboard and into the standoff, and that's what holds the motherboard solid in your case. Now I could probably do the same thing that I've just done and drill out all the rivets that hold this tray into the case, and use this tray to actually mount the motherboard in my new box. But I think what I'm actually going to do, it will look a lot tidier if I just buy some, I think there's a M3, so some sort of captive nut that I can put into the wood, flush with the wood, and screw the standoffs straight into the wood. I think that will look a lot neater. Might be able to make use of some of these fans and bits and pieces out of here at some point. Maybe those hard drive mounts, we could probably use those. Yeah, so next thing I suppose is just get the holes measured up on here for mounting our backplate. I've just popped it back into the old case for a second just to verify that this actually, the bottom of this does sit flush with the bottom of the standoffs, and that makes it easier for us because it means we can just sit this straight onto the plywood. You don't have to worry about raising it a certain amount off of the bottom there, so we can simply chuck it in like that, and we know that it will be the right height for the motherboard. So I just need to move that batten across, take a bit out. Remember that this is only a test fit at the moment. This has all got to be taken apart and wood glued properly and painted and everything. So first thing is to remove that batten, and then we shall measure up and cut our holes out for this. Okay, now it's sat where I'm happy with it. I'm going to mark out all of our holes for screws, and our cut lines as well. Now we want the cut lines to actually be inside here, and we want to leave plenty of material for our screws. So I'm going to draw the lines from the inside roughly, and then join them up with a ruler afterwards. I'm actually going to put a little dot for the screw holes as well, so that we can keep track of them easily. There's a couple down there too. Fantastic. And I'm going to draw the line from the inside here. Let's go. Okay. Just rough lines here, but just put a mark wherever I can, and then join them up later. Let's check that out. Yeah, I think that'll do us. That should give us enough there to work with, so I'm going to tidy those lines up. As you can see, we've got enough. Let's focus this thing. There's plenty of material left on the edges for our screw holes. Focus has gone funny, so I'm going to take that backboard off completely now and get the jigsaw out. There we go. So I'm going to drill a nice big hole in some of these corners so that we can get in there with our drill bit. So that we can get in there with our jigsaw. And there we go. I'm quite happy with that as a first attempt. We can clean it up a bit later if we need to with some sandpaper or maybe a file, but for now I think that should do the job. I'm going to dust it off and then see how our back plate fits. Okay, so we've got that screwed on just in a couple of places for now. If we turn it over, quite happy with that. That will do the job. I will clean up this corner and the little bits and pieces, and I'll probably round off this corner here so that it fits in slightly better with what's below it. But yeah, for now, look, that needs a little bit of a tidy up along there with a flat file, which I'll do before final paint. But for now, that's going to do the job. I'm going to move on to some fan holes. Okay, I've just stuck it back on the box for now. Before I go ahead with the fan holes though, I just need to add back some of the bracing. Let me grab here that we removed, which was only supposed to be temporary. Now I can't chuck that back in there like that because here, right next to the motherboard, will be our power supply, and we can't have this bracing in the way there either, unless we raise it up off of the maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll put that whole brace in there and we shall have the power supply just raised up off of the bottom a tad. That might be good. I think that's probably what we're going to do. What I was thinking was I was just going to chuck this in there like that. It's just a little brace. That'd be enough just to hold in there. It's not going to be a huge amount of weight over here. I was just going to chuck that little brace in there and then leave enough room here, sort of maybe to about there, for the power supply, and then brace the last bit as well. But I think what I might do instead actually is brace the whole lot, just because it's even stronger that way. And I'll mount the power supply, you know, sort of 3/4 of an inch or so off the bottom of the box, and just have it mounted to the back. I think that's probably the route I'm going to go now. Actually, I've decided I like that. See, you can plan these things out in advance, but as you're doing it, you always chop and change bits as you go. I think that's going to be the new plan. So for the fan holes, all of my fans are 120mm fans. So what I'm going to do is drill 2 on each side, right next to each other. On one side will be the intake and the other side will be the exhaust. So to do that, we'll be using a nice big hole saw like this, and safe to say we'll be switching from the smaller drill to the big powerful drill. This video is sponsored by Black & Decker, just kidding. And once we've got our holes, our fans will be mounted on the inside, and we shall finish it off on the outside with some of these dust filters, and it should look pretty good. So I'm going to get it marked out where I want the holes to be and get them drilled. And there we go. That's how it will look, and obviously there'll be some sort of field, not this one mind you, it's a bit small for the job, but there'll be a big one of these that will cover 2 fans, and it should make it look quite nice. That drill, definitely not up to the job, that took ages. The drill's quite hot, poor thing. That drill for many years has been forced to do many things it was not designed and is not suitable for. That's probably why the battery is pretty shagged, but it's done it. I'm going to put it on charge for a little while before I attempt the next one, I think, or at least let it cool down, and then we'll go on and do the other side later. Okay, we'll end this video with a summary of what we've managed to get done. So we've got our back plate in, that's looking pretty good. Happy with that. We've got our hole cut for the power supply. I know those screws look like they're wrong, but that is where the holes, that's where the screws go for a power supply. You'll see during assembly. Finally, we've got our intake holes drilled, and lastly, last thing to do here is just to drill our exhaust holes once the drill has finished charging. So that's going to be it for today. Next time, probably going to be painting this thing black, get the front on, and start installing bits. Oh, and I must start thinking about a frame for mounting this whole deal to the bottom of the desk. So all of that in the next video. Thanks for watching Andy's workshop. Join me again next time when we'll get to all of that.